Okay, here we go. A couple big ones going on here. We have Ulysses by James Joyce versus The Great Book of Amber by Roger Zelazny. The Great Book of Amber is actually 10 books, all bound into one big ass book. And let me just tell you, the first two books of this epic, gigantic, sprawling fantasy adventure, I fucking loved them. It was like this two-fisted adventure, lots of magic and intrigue, but by the third book, it started to get really confusing. There were lots and lots of magical things that would take place and would not be explained for 30, 50, 100 pages. Sometimes there'd be a reference to something. There was this little tiny detail 2 books earlier. I think I probably would have enjoyed all of these had I read them as they came out over the course of the 70s and the 80s. They came out like once every year, every 2 years. It is totally a fun adventure if you're into a big, epic, giant fantasy world. I just couldn't keep up with the palace intrigue and the backstabbing and who was betraying who and who had what magical abilities, who didn't have what magical abilities. It got to be too much for me. My head was just spinning. It was too much for me. It wasn't my thing. Not a bad book, but just not my particular thing. On the other hand, I'll tell you what is my thing. James Joyce. And everyone in the world fucking hates this book, and I would never recommend it to people. But I'm telling you right now, it was one of my favorites. I loved this book, and it was my slow read. Every year I pick a book that I'm going to read really slowly. This book, I read 3 pages a day, every day, just 3 pages. And that was it. Just stick with it, and you'll get through the whole thing. And reading it that way, without any expectation of trying to get further into it, and just being able to really stay with this, it opened the book up to me in a huge way. It absolutely is the winner here. I love this book, and I will defend it, but I also won't recommend it because it's a hard book to read, admittedly. But that's me. This is all about my thing, and that's my take. So James Joyce wins this one.